Meetings in English can be very hard, especially with fast speakers or people with strong accents. And when other participants in the meeting start using advanced vocabulary and idioms, it can be very hard to keep up and not feel lost. But don't worry, in this lesson I'm going to share some of my top tips and smart phrases so you can feel more comfortable going into your next meeting in English. Hi there, I'm Derek and this is English for Professionals, the best place to improve your professional English communication skills. Before we get started with the lesson, I'm very excited to tell you about my new 21-day meetings challenge, a short course that will give you the confidence, tools and phrases to go into any English meeting, share your ideas and opinions clearly, get involved and not worry about making mistakes. By investing just 15 minutes per day for 3 weeks, you'll see a big improvement in your confidence and your ability to contribute effectively in meetings. The challenge is launching soon and I've set up a waitlist for people who are interested. Just click on the link in the description below to join the waitlist and find out more. And now let's start the lesson. So my first top tip is on becoming a confident meeting participant. Now, confidence is a massive topic and that's why we talk a lot about it on the first day of the challenge. Now, unfortunately, I can't make a massive difference to your confidence levels in one short video, but if you take the following advice, it will make a difference. Take the chance to speak up. Ask yourself, what's more important? Staying quiet and being sure you don't make a mistake, or taking the chance and making your voice heard? Next up, remember your value. Before any meeting, remind yourself that you're there for a reason. You've been invited to this meeting for a reason. You're good at your job, you're professional, and you have a lot of value to offer. And here's a little exercise you can try, visualization. Before your next meeting, take a few minutes to close your eyes and visualize yourself in the meeting. So picture yourself in the meeting. See yourself speaking clearly, engaging with others, and handling any situation with ease and confidence. Visualization helps your brain get used to the idea of you being confident and successful. So that was tip 1. Let's move on to tip number 2. Dealing with fast speakers and strong accents. So this is a big struggle for a lot of people. Let's take a look. Prepare in advance. So one thing you can do is familiarize yourself with the meeting agenda and be as well prepared as possible. This gives you context and can help you anticipate the discussion. So what I mean by anticipate is to think about possible things that can happen before they happen. Next, active listening. So focus on keywords and phrases that can give you the gist of what's being said. Don't hesitate to ask speakers to slow down or repeat themselves if necessary. It's completely normal and acceptable to interrupt someone and ask them to slow down or ask them to repeat something. Listening practice. Another thing you can do to improve your listening skills is to watch videos or listen to podcasts with fast speakers or people with a variety of accents. Gradually increase the playback speed to train your ear. I did this a lot when I first came to Austria. I had a small TV and I only had 2 TV stations and they were both in German. So I had no choice other than to watch German TV. And over the years, this really helped me to understand fast German and all of the different accents that we have here in Austria and also in Germany and Switzerland. So if you're struggling to understand fast speakers or people with strong accents in meetings, try to do as much listening practice as you can. It will help. And now we'll move on to tip number 3, understanding advanced meeting vocabulary. So what can we do? First of all, like reading, you don't need to understand every word. Don't put yourself under pressure to try to understand each word because it's just impossible. Focus on the words and phrases that are coming up regularly. They are the ones worth knowing and worth learning. Okay, let's move on. Context clues. So try to understand the meaning of a new word from the context in which it is used. Think about the sentences before and after and see if they can help you to figure out the meaning. Let's take a look at an example. Okay, so we're going to look at the example unanimous. Imagine this word is completely new for you. So here we have the sentence before. We've been discussing this proposal in great detail for the past hour. And then we have the sentence with the new word. It's time to take a vote. As you know, we can only go ahead if we reach a unanimous decision. And then the sentence after. Great. I see all hands are raised, so a unanimous decision it is. Okay, so take a moment and look at this. Does the sentence before and sentence after help us understand what unanimous could mean? Think about it and then we'll look at the explanation together. So the sentence before and the sentence after, do they help? Okay, I'm going to move on and look at the explanation. We can see here at the top the full statement together. I'll just read it one more time. We've been discussing this proposal in great detail for the past hour. It's time to take a vote. As you know, we can only go ahead if we reach a unanimous decision. Great. I see all hands are raised, so a unanimous decision it is. Now for our explanation. The sentences before and after, along with the visual cue of everyone raising their hand, show that there was a detailed discussion and then a decision that everyone agreed on. So this tells us that unanimous means everyone agrees. And now it's time to look at some smart phrases. And we use our first smart phrases for getting involved, asking for and expressing opinions. Remember what I said in my first tip? Speak up and get involved. Make your voice heard. Okay, I'm going to read each example twice. The second time, you can repeat it with me. Can I get your input on this budget proposal for the next quarter? Say it with me. Can I get your input on this budget proposal for the next quarter? Or, what are your thoughts on this approach? Say it with me. What are your thoughts on this approach? And, as far as I'm concerned, the current strategy is working well. Say it with me. As far as I'm concerned, the current strategy is working well. Great. Now let's move on to expressing agreement. That's a great point. Say it with me. That's a great point. Or, that makes perfect sense to me. Say it with me. That makes perfect sense to me. Next we have expressing disagreement and sharing alternative views. I'm afraid I can't go along with that. Say it with me. I'm afraid I can't go along with that. Or, I see things differently. Say it with me. I see things differently. And, that's an interesting point, but I think we might achieve better results if we focus on improving our current product line before expanding into new markets. Say it with me. That's an interesting point, but I think we might achieve better results if we focus on improving our current product line before expanding into new markets. That was a long one. Okay, let's move on to dealing with interruptions. I'll answer that question later if you don't mind. As I was saying, we know it'll be challenging, but we're confident that we can deliver the project on time. Say it with me. I'll answer that question later if you don't mind. As I was saying, we know it'll be challenging, but we're confident that we can deliver the project on time. Another long one. And the second one, let me finish please. As I was explaining, I don't just think it's a possibility, I'm certain that we'll lose turnover if we don't do something soon. Say it with me. Let me finish please. As I was explaining, I don't just think it's a possibility, I'm certain that we'll lose turnover if we don't do something soon. Excellent. Let's move on to asking for clarification, another really important meeting skill. I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with that term. Maybe you could explain it in other words? Say it with me. I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with that term. Maybe you could explain it in other words? Or, I'm afraid I don't quite follow. Would you mind explaining that again, please? Say it with me. I'm afraid I don't quite follow. Would you mind explaining that again, please? So don't be afraid to ask for clarification. I mentioned it before. I always say to people that any kind of meeting or discussion should be a win-win. You should understand the other participants and they should understand you. So don't be afraid to speak up and ask for clarification. Normally, people won't look down on you for doing this, but rather they'll respect you for speaking up and trying to understand. So please, don't be afraid to ask. Okay, now we'll move on to making suggestions. Here's something that might be worth thinking about: extending our customer service hours. Say it with me. Here's something that might be worth thinking about: extending our customer service hours. Or perhaps we could consider partnering with a local charity for our next campaign. Say it with me. Perhaps we could consider partnering with a local charity for our next campaign. Excellent, so there we have some of my top tips and a selection of smart phrases. Don't forget about my 21-day meetings challenge. If you want to find out more and join the waitlist, please click on the link in the description below. And if you found this lesson helpful, give it a thumbs up and watch one of these next.